The last dollar's worth. The fluorescent lights of the corner market cast a harsh glow over the narrow aisles, but Jake Mitchell barely noticed as he pushed his squeaky shopping cart toward the baby supplies section. His 18-month-old daughter Lily sat in the cart's front seat, her chubby fingers reaching for everything within her grasp while babbling happily in the language only she understood. Jake's wallet felt impossibly thin in his back pocket. After paying rent, utilities, and daycare for the week, he had exactly $14.37 to his name. Payday wasn't until Friday, still 3 days away, and Lily was down to her last 2 diapers. The math was simple but unforgiving. He needed diapers, and he needed them now. At 28, Jake had never imagined his life would look like this. 2 years ago, he had been married with a decent job at a construction company, making plans for the future with his wife, Amanda. Then came the accident. A drunk driver running a red light that took Amanda away and left Jake to raise their daughter alone. The medical bills from the accident, combined with his grief-driven inability to work for several months, had drained their savings and left him struggling to make ends meet. "Da-da," Lily said, pointing at a display of colorful toys near the diaper aisle. Her smile was pure sunshine, completely unaware of the weight her father carried on his shoulders every day. "I see them, sweetheart," Jake said softly, his voice carrying the exhaustion that had become his constant companion. "Maybe another time." He stopped in front of the diaper section, his heart sinking as he scanned the prices. Even the store-brand packages were more than he had in his wallet. Jake did quick calculations in his head, trying to figure out if he could buy a smaller pack that might last until Friday, but even those were beyond his reach. Behind him, he heard the soft click of expensive shoes on the linoleum floor. A woman in an elegant navy blue business suit approached the pharmacy section, her phone pressed to her ear as she spoke in quiet, clipped tones about quarterly reports and board meetings. She looked like she belonged in a corporate boardroom, not in a small neighborhood grocery store at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Sarah Wellington had been working 18-hour days for the past 2 weeks, preparing for a crucial presentation that would determine whether her marketing firm landed the biggest client in its history. At 34, she had built Mitchell Marketing Solutions from nothing into one of the most respected agencies in the city. Success had brought her financial security, a beautiful penthouse apartment, and the respect of her peers. But it had also brought isolation, endless lonely evenings, and the growing realization that she had built a life with no one to share it with. She had stopped at this particular store because it was close to her office and stayed open late. She needed to pick up a prescription for the migraines that had been plaguing her from stress and too little sleep. As she waited for the pharmacist to find her medication, she couldn't help but notice the young man with the baby in the diaper aisle. Jake finally selected the smallest package of diapers he could find, hoping against hope that the price had somehow gone down since the last time he'd checked. $12.99. Still more than he had, but maybe the cashier would let him pay the difference with the quarters he had in his car's cup holder. He made his way to the checkout line, Lily still babbling contentedly, blissfully unaware of her father's anxiety. The teenage cashier, whose name tag read Kevin, began scanning Jake's single item with the bored efficiency of someone working the night shift. $12.99, Kevin announced, barely looking up from his register. Jake pulled out his wallet, his hands trembling slightly as he counted out the crumpled bills. $12 in various denominations, plus a handful of coins that he spread on the counter, counting silently. $14.37 total. He was short by 62 cents. "I'm sorry," Jake said quietly, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I'm a little short. Could I put back some of the diapers? Maybe you could sell me half the pack?" Kevin looked at him with the impatience of youth, clearly annoyed by the complication. "I can't do that, man. It's a sealed package." Behind Jake, Sarah had finished with the pharmacist and found herself listening to the exchange, despite herself. She watched as the young father's shoulders sagged with defeat, saw the way he looked down at his daughter with a mixture of love and desperation that struck something deep in her chest. "I'll take them all," Sarah said suddenly, stepping forward and placing her hand on Jake's shoulder. Both Jake and Kevin turned to look at her in surprise. "I'm sorry," Jake said, confusion clear in his voice. The diapers, Sarah explained, pulling out her credit card. I'll buy them. And actually, she looked around the store quickly, her mind working faster than she could process her own emotions. I'll take whatever else you need. Formula, baby food, anything. Jake stared at her, his mouth slightly open. Ma'am, I can't let you do that. I don't even know you. My name is Sarah Wellington, she said, extending her hand with the same professional confidence she used in business meetings. And you don't need to know me for me to help? Jake Mitchell, he replied automatically, shaking her hand while still looking bewildered. This is my daughter, Lily. At the mention of her name, Lily looked up at Sarah and flashed her a gummy smile that seemed to light up the entire store. Sarah felt something twist in her chest, a longing she had pushed down for years in favor of building her career. She's beautiful, Sarah said, and for the first time in months, her smile was completely genuine. Over the next 30 minutes, Sarah found herself following Jake through the store, filling a cart with everything a single father might need. Diapers, formula, baby food, fresh fruits and vegetables, bread, milk, and even a few toys that had caught Lily's attention. Jake protested at first, insisting he couldn't accept such generosity from a stranger, but Sarah's quiet persistence and Lily's infectious giggles gradually wore down his resistance. Why are you doing this? Jake asked as they stood in line again, this time with a cart full of groceries worth more than Jake usually spent in a month. Sarah was quiet for a moment, watching Lily play with a soft, stuffed bear they had picked up from the toy aisle. I have more money than I know what to do with, she said finally, but I don't have what you have. What do you mean? Someone who lights up when I walk into a room. Someone who depends on me for more than quarterly profits and marketing strategies. Sarah's voice was soft, almost vulnerable. I built a successful business, but somewhere along the way, I forgot to build a life. As they loaded the groceries into Jake's aging Honda Civic, Sarah found herself reluctant to say goodbye. There was something about this small family, the way Jake's entire world revolved around his daughter's happiness, the way Lily seemed to find joy in the simplest things, that reminded her of what really mattered. I don't know how to thank you, Jake said, securing the last bag in his trunk. This changes everything for us. Maybe you could let me buy you both dinner sometime, Sarah said, the words coming out before she had fully thought them through. I don't have much experience with babies, but Lily seems to like me. Jake looked at her carefully, perhaps seeing past the expensive suit to the loneliness underneath. She has good instincts. So do I. He smiled, and for the first time since Amanda's death, it reached his eyes. I think we'd like that very much. As Sarah drove home to her empty penthouse that night, she found herself thinking about Lily's laughter echoing through the grocery store aisles. She had started the evening focused on quarterly reports and profit margins, but ended it with something far more valuable, the beginning of a connection that might fill the spaces in her life that success had never been able to touch. Sometimes, the most important investments weren't measured in dollars and cents, but in the simple act of seeing someone who needed help and choosing to be the answer to their silent prayer.